uh, of all my streams, and I've done some good ones. I've done some rambly ones. This one is one to watch. And Conspiracy Queries hits hugepianist.com in a couple hours. That's why I didn't sleep at first. And it's $10. It's how we can be ad free, and it's wicked funny. And I will put it up eventually for free, so don't feel pressure on that. But I think you're really going to like it. All right, so the question I want to ask you guys is, what is a wizard? What is magic? And what are spells? The only person two people that I've seen touch on some of these concepts are Stefan Molyneux and Vox Day. We'll talk about modern wizards and magic. Most people don't understand that it never went away. That we can use terms like marketing techniques or rhetoric. My dad has his PhD in rhetoric, and for people that say, well, that's not you, me and my dad were extremely close, and he taught me every bit of the wizard ways. I know what it is, and there's dark wizardry, and there's light wizardry, and I'm really into truth because it makes your life way better. George, please don't. Thank you. Come here, buddy. Come here, Georgie. Good boy. And don't eat wood, buddy. You know it's bad for your stomach. And so, ironically, there's a spell to make you not see the spells. That's why they call it rhetoric. You know, the art of persuasion. That's the art of saying words that make people do your bidding that aren't true. That's all that is. And, you know, in movies and stuff, wizards are seen as what? You know, people don't think wizards exist because they all have like, George, hey, George, stop it, come here. You're not allowed back over there now. You just broke my trust. Maybe in a little bit. What do they have? They have big, crazy wizard hats, and they have long robes and like these weird, ornate canes, and that's how they're depicted. But in reality, most wizards don't look like that. But wizards are so good at being wizards that they can dress like wizards, and you don't even notice. Like, what did we just describe? A giant, ridiculous hat, a long gown, and a cane. Okay, that's a wizard. And for those of you just listening on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast at Why Don't They Laugh is my podcast, it's a picture of the Pope. He has a giant star, or he has a giant like symbolic hat that's absurd. He has a long robe and a cane. And he utters words in magical languages that get millions of people to bow down and give him money and power. That's a wizard. And if you can't see that, you don't understand wizardry. This guy right here is a wizard. And I'll show you a bunch more wizards. So let's talk about good magic and bad magic. I think it's all bad, kind of. But I kind of call pure, untouched, true statements. I don't want to call it magic because I have a real bad feeling about it. I don't like magic. I stay away from magic as much as possible. But there's a real, it's the only way to combat dark magic. And Trump has mastered it. I'll get to Trump, Obama, Mandela effect, Jordan Peterson. We'll touch on the moon, even though I'm not going to do the normal thing. I'm just going to talk about why these things are important. And I started obsessing about this at dinner last night. It was my wife's birthday, and I got to take her whole family out, and she was the happiest person in the world. And I look over and I see my son standing on a chair, and I realize my son has wizard instincts. And my son's not one of those attention-hungry kids. He keeps to himself. You know, he's sweet. He just likes monster trucks. He can just chill out. He doesn't like cry in public to get people to look at him and stuff. So this isn't about attention. This is literally, he has my gene. There's a gene in my family. My dad's a rhetoric professor. I'm a comedian podcaster. My grandfather was a lead miner, but a famous storyteller. It literally is genetic, I think. And so I look over and I see him doing that. And guess what? Boom, peekaboo, right? What's up next? He gives props to God. Then what does he do? Kills a joke. Everyone's dying. I look over and I realize my son is killing a set. He knows like, he used like 8 words and everyone's clapping and laughing. And it was, fortunately, it was truth wizardry because it wasn't based in deception and lies. And I'll make sure that he doesn't go down those dark roads because he has it in him. Look at this. Stands on a chair. Where's Walter? Who knows? Boom, there he is. Oh, what's up, Jesus? Much love to Jesus. Guess what? I also got jokes. And boom, crushing. And so I started thinking about the paths of wizardry and how to not become evil. Because it's a fight. You know, like I'm going to talk about Robert Moses, who is one of the most powerful men you've never heard of. And he is he's one of the most powerful wizards I've ever seen. And yeah, he's a Jew. And he's twisted and power hungry and greedy. And yes, he is a Jew, but they're not all Jews. Like I just showed you the Pope, he's not Jewish. Otto von Bismarck, I can get in. Okay, I did that on purpose just to show you a form of wizardry. See, if you know I'm being funny, I don't consider it magic or bad. But what I just did was persuasion, and I used the upside down to do it. I was trying to make you think that all wizards are Jews by saying the opposite. And once you say, I'm not doing this to trick you guys. I'm doing this to arm you because it's everywhere now. And when I was a kid, people, yes meant yes, no meant no, a lot more than it does today. So when I say, listen, Jews aren't all wizards. Like what I just told you is Jews are wizards, except I got to keep the moral high ground and not be called anti-Semitic. And I actually look good and virtuous and Me Too moment. It's how it's done. It's how you transmit an idea while at the same time making yourself look like the exact opposite. Jimmy Savile, Bono, all these guys. You know, it's like they're over saving Africa. No, they're destroying it. It's the opposite. It's the upside down, right? And it's how magic works. All right, so one of the things that, so use this to protect yourself. Do not use this to get power or resources because not only just because that's wrong, it ends horribly. Hillary Clinton has one of the most tragic lives I've ever seen. Hillary Clinton is proof that the devil is real and he's kind of hilarious. The devil took Hillary Clinton's blind ambition and yearn for power, married she's a lesbian, power hungry, cold hearted, no interest in being mom, but wants to be control of the world, right? She ends up with Bill Clinton, a guy who's constantly embarrassing her by his just fornications. Just the worst possible match for a super power hungry lesbian. Gets her almost to the finish line. And then who gets the presidency? Trump, the most outrageously masculine and just colorful character. That's what happens. Hillary Clinton is a high level wizard and used it all for dark. And I don't know if Trump is into truth or he just knows how to do it. I can't figure that part out, but I'll get to that in a second. This isn't going to be at all political, by the way. One time on an old podcast, I analyzed who the funniest candidate was. And it was not political. I went through like, Cruz and Hillary and Trump and everybody and Bernie. And like, at what points are they funniest and at what points are their weaknesses? And people seem to really like it because it wasn't about threats and power and communities and nationalities. And it's just about the art. And this is my expertise. And listen, I get a lot of you guys saying like, yo, Big Bear, I subscribe to you because you keep it real and you talk like I think and you're funny as hell. But like, yo, man, you're not a scientist. And I get that. I will talk about like what I'm for sure an expert in, which is this. But just know that when you're an expert at this, what I'm explaining to you, you understand everything. Because you see the person saying it, why they're saying it, what words they're using. I don't want to embarrass people sometimes at how many steps ahead I am at what they're saying. This is not boastful. This is actually kind of horrifying to exist the way I am. Like to be able to predict things. People call you crazy, they come true and they don't high five you. And they then call you crazy again for your current thing that then comes true again. It's like people will try to manipulate me and mess with my head. And I'm like, it's as if they're saying the truth. And I don't want to embarrass them sometimes. I'm just like, yeah, you're worried about me. Got it. I was raised by a master wizard. And my mother is so speak truth at all times to a ridiculous degree to the point like that contradiction allowed me to see through the matrix. And I see that now. My dad is a master wizard. My mom is like, this is my hand. Like she's the most straightforward, no nonsense, no ability to deceive person you've ever met in your life. So that's why that hot front and cold front kind of like what makes rain is what made me. And I'm not bragging, guys. I was last night, me and Amy had the best day and night, and she was so happy. And then, but the very end of the night, you know, we're chilling, and we're just trying to watch like a Netflix documentary about gardening. And we start watching documentaries, and she's like, "You look like you're in pain," and I'm like, baby, this is all propaganda. Like, this isn't about teaching us how to garden. What this is they're planting seeds about global warming that doesn't exist, a hoax. They're trying to take away farmers' rights. And she's like, how do you see all that? I'm like, I see that all the time. It's almost like having another sense that never shuts up and alienates you from friends and family and stuff. But like the reason we do these massive lies, it's high level wizardry. Because once you commit a population to an obvious lie and have generations just like dig it in, they aren't in control of their own mind and they're easily susceptible to more lies. Let's say the earth really was flat and they convinced people of a heliocentric model, right? That instead of what you perceive, which is a flat world that doesn't move, and the sun and the moon go up and down and follow tracks, and oddly the moon doesn't change its side, and science has explained that the rotation, it's weird, right? So you see this world and you believe the complete opposite, that we're in fact spinning aimlessly in a void on a ball, and the sun isn't moving, it's actually stable. I actually believe that. But what if that wasn't true? And they got everyone to think that way. At that point, they have mental slavery, because high level slavery is mental. You know, the chain stuff was bad branding. Please, like, look at this from an artistic point of view of wizardry, okay? Because the irony is people are under so many spells that they can't even discuss these topics without getting emotional and angry. Let's look at the psyop that was the moon landing. So I'll show you one, and I'm not going to talk about any of the normal stuff. Okay, moon rock given to Holland by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin is fake. So Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, and this is according to the Telegraph in the UK. This isn't just some random blog. That's a true story. That's checked out. It's all good, you know. And this is like a way to drive people insane, right? So curators at Amsterdam's where the rock has attracted tens of thousands of visitors each year discovered that the lunar rock valley was in fact petrified wood. Xander blah 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 blah. All right, so it's a fact, right? And this is why sometimes, like, I always like to show everybody full context, all the other sides as much as I can, unless I don't know it at the time. But there's something going on with it, because I posted that and people were already going like, well, there could have been trees on the moon. Some people were joking. Some people weren't joking. They're like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Okay, if a group of wizards, and by the way, we talked about what wizards look like, right? We talked about what wizards look like. They wear weird outfits and crazy hats. You guys remember what wizards look like, right? And I'm not trying to sound condescending, but astronauts are wizards. Okay. They're in plain as day when you see it. All right, so because they can't make up a completely false world. That's the problem with magic. It requires mimicry. It requires an upside down. It requires hiding in plain sight. You can't do magic unless you tell people. You have to put the bitten apple on everything to show everybody the fall of man as you fall man. That's why I filled in the apple. I use apple, but see, I know that the world revolves around symbols, right? I markered in the apple because it's not about politics or someone, this product, that product. I like Apple products. I hate the apple. I hate that they make me have that symbol on there of a bitten apple because it's literally Eve's temptation that was the fall of man. And they're shoving it right in our face. So what do? I make it a full apple because that's how you battle magic, right? You understand? It's symbols, symbol. The upside down Christmas tree, the flag, right? The gay flag, the rainbow flag was taken from Noah for a reason very specifically. These are all mimics. They're all upside downs. And I'm trying to teach you guys because A, I'm fascinated by it. And B, this is our way out. This is our way to not ruin our civilization. This is our way to have a prosperous family. I don't think we're in the end times. And the amount of people that believe this shit because they're so weakened by pornography, corn syrup, just mindless programming. Dude, the news channel is a spinning circle that counts down until they say a spell. Once you see it, it's a burden. But like, if you don't have my job, if you don't have like the thing where people attach my face with outing a lot of this shit, it's not as much of a burden. In fact, it frees you and allows you to fight it. So that's one reason why I'm here. Oh, it's 100% hypnosis. It's hypnosis. They're wizards, dude. All right, so let's get into some examples. And the reason I brought up that moonrock thing is because some dude's like, yeah, I Googled it because I know you're insane now. And it said that there was also a petrified wood gift that they must have gotten mistaken. You see how they it's how they wear you down, where your logic says, okay, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong gave Holland a piece of wood. They weren't even trying. They know how powerful their spells are that they didn't even use a rock. And they finally figured it out. And even after that, people still believe the lie because you have just a sliver. And now I'm realizing it's by design. They want to bring you to the edge and then pull you back with this little thing like, but it could still be real though. And the more they do that, it's how you train animals. The more they do that, it could be real though. You know, it's how you break someone. Not that I would ever kidnap anyone and break anyone. I know I have to say that because half the internet's autistic now. But you let them almost escape, like Misery, like that movie Misery. It's like they almost get there. And that's how you break their spirit. It's not just keeping them in a little cage. It's make them feel like they could do it. And then break them right at the last minute again. It's like in Game of Thrones when they cut off that dude's dick while he was having sex. That's twisted, but it's way, way more intense. All right, so here is a little bit. Let me test you guys. Has a lot of you guys, when I criticize Jordan Peterson, who is a powerful wizard, he even tricked me, and I can see this shit a mile away. A lot of people say, but he's good for Christianity. He's a Christian in this crazy world, and he's bringing men back to Christianity. A lot of you guys have said that. You're like, I love his biblical lectures that never mention the Bible. Do you know he did a 3-hour biblical lecture once and never brought it up? And he kept getting laughs. That's one reason why I'm ashamed of my own profession, not the way I do it. But laughter is a way to diffuse truth if you do it wrongly. That's why there's good magic and bad magic. It's like, not good magic, but truth magic, which is what comedy should be. But like I remember Sam Harris was pinned about his bullshit deterministic worldview that he uses just to gain power and money. A parent, and it was a woman, and that matters because it's more relatable. You know, you hear mother, and you could tell was a fan and not trying to take him down or anything, was like, how do I teach my 8-year-old about determinism? Like, how do I tell him that like life is already planned out and he has no free will? How do I teach a kid that? And Sam Harris goes, lie. And everyone laughed. And then he moved on. He wasn't joking. That was how he diffused it. That was magic. Because you can't teach an 8-year-old that the world's a deterministic universe. because they would kill themselves, and suicide is on the rise with little kids. It's getting insane because you shouldn't lie to your kids. Keep things from them. Polish things. Like Dad and Mama loved each other very much, and now we have Walter, and we love Walter. When I say don't lie to your kids, I don't mean it's like, well, the dick goes in the pussy. Like, protect them, but don't speak false to your kids. All right, so let's play a game. Has Jordan Peterson ever said he believes in God? Has Jordan Peterson ever said he believes in Jesus Christ? Has Jordan Peterson ever said that he even thinks Jesus Christ was a real person? Has Jordan Peterson ever said he's religious at all? Has Jordan Peterson ever said he believes in God? And here's the biggest part. He hasn't. You can tell what I'm doing here. He's a Satanist. And I'll tell you why. Because Dawkins, as much as I disagree with him and I think he's a worm, at least he has the integrity to say he's an atheist or whatever he is. And I'm like, fuck you, Richard Dawkins. But at least you say this shit. Watch this. And if you watch this and you still wonder why I criticized Jordan Peterson, by the way, I was under a spell with Peterson before where I thought he was secretly a Christian and he was waiting to get notoriety to reveal that because he didn't want to be persecuted by the atheist, leftist intelligentsia. That was my thought. So when he would dance these issues, I'm like, Peterson knows about what's going on, but he just doesn't want to be ostracized. It's the opposite. Peterson pretended to be Christian just enough to get the support of Christians because these people can't say they believe in Jesus Christ. That's why it's a powerful, that's truth magic. I don't know. I don't even want to associate it with magic, but like they can't say Jesus Christ saved us. That's one reason why like bad popes and shit, they're all about Latin. Like vampires still have rules. Like you have to invite them in. Watch Peterson right now. Watch this shit. Ready? Watch Jordan Peterson. Watch this. And if you ever freak out on me again about Peterson after watching this, just save your breath because we have nothing in common. This is wizardry to a T. Watch this.
The idol of millions of people is punting on the most important question in the world. It is a question of literal metaphysical truth before this question of psychology. Peterson has said that he behaves as if God exists, but he lectures as if he doesn't. It would be helpful for his fans and himself if he addressed the heart of the West crisis and meaning, God, yes or no.
He can't. Watch this slime ball. And this is one reason why I love Vox Day, because he called this out way before I saw it. Watch Peterson pretend like it's a new thought. This is circus performing, guys. Guys, this is Gandalf the gay. He's pretending it's the first time he's ever thought about whether or not he believes in God. So it looks like he's a tormented, like moral man in chaos. It triggers emotions in you that you want to protect him and you want to serve under him. That's what I felt because I felt like he, heavy as the head that wears the crown. I'm like, look at him struggling. He's not struggling. They asked, do you believe in God? Yes or no? Bear in mind, he now makes like what, $6 million a month? He's a worldwide bestseller on any show. He's just on Dr. Oz, probably sodomizing each other. He doesn't need to hide what he is anymore. And Robert Moses will teach you all about concealment. Watch this answer.
Why not take on this question of the existence of God?
Because it's not something to reduce to a soundbite.
Yes, it is.
Fundamental.
Yes, it is. Say, I believe in God. Of course I do. I'm Christian. Look at that answer. Watch it. It gets even crazier.
But your lectures are 2 hours long.
This is true, but when you're talking about the most important questions that people have ever asked, then 2 hours isn't very long. Apparently, people will watch.
He needs more than 2 hours to say if he believes in the existence of God. And I'm going to analyze this on a different level in 1 second. Let's just finish this part.
So I'm not prepared to.
Look at that. You see that?
I'm not prepared to say things.
That's a lie. He's a 55-year-old multi-millionaire who talks about religion all the time. He's a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever the hell he wants to call himself. That whole I'm not prepared to. You want to know what that is? Let's invent a new term. Let's call that the Ryan Gosling effect. Ryan Gosling was always the biggest heartthrob with chicks because he didn't say anything. Women have a fantastic ability. That's one reason why they're so easy to manipulate with music, like Coldplay. If you say nothing and just look sad and weird and like there's something hurting inside, they will put their thoughts into you. It's a female trait where it's like him doing that. People are like, he can't even talk about God because he loves him so much. Nope. He does this every time. He knows the truth. He knows what his truth is. And also, he's using speech patterns that connotate, like Puritans. He's like, this is true. Obama mastered it. He figured out how to talk like he's an Iowa farmer and black and Hawaiian simultaneously. Folks, I just don't, folks these days, it's wizardry, guys. Words are so crazy powerful, you can't even imagine it. I'll play this again. But when Peterson says, clean your room, and sorry, I don't mean to laugh, because I know some of you guys worship this guy. It's like worshiping a squirrel. And I won't judge you for getting out of it. People write to me all the time. They're like, Big Bear, I was so mean to you when you first called out Peterson, and now I see him for what he is. I'm really sorry. Guys, I wrote him a birthday song. I'm not judging you. Don't be a dick to people anymore, though, obviously. But so Peterson, when he says, he goes, when you want to know what someone thinks about you, shut up. Listen. Don't say a word. They will reveal everything you need to know about them. Just be quiet and listen. And you want to know what that is? That's basic magic, guys. He's getting the crowd to shut up and listen to him. He invented a fake scenario. If you want to know what people think about you, you shut up? No, then they walk away and do other shit. That's retarded advice. He set up a situation where he could scream, shut up, listen, shut up. Scream it. And the audience doesn't know that he's talking to them, and then they follow orders. They don't say a word. They listen to every word he says. And he still has the moral high ground because he framed it in a way where he was helping people. If you want to know what your family really thinks of you, you shut up and you give them money. It's like we react to words. Like the word free makes you buy shit. It works so well and you don't even know it works. And those are the best spells. That's why I admit I may be under a spell with Flat Earth. A real high level of thought is to know you're susceptible to spells and try and look at where you have weaknesses and just your limitations. When you say buy one get one free, if you do this now, a free this, and you're like, oh, I don't fall for that. If I hear free, I know it's a bad deal. Study after study after study, that is not true. You can have the same products, same price. You just put the word free in there somewhere, it's 8 times the sales. You don't even know it. You're unaware of it. And you don't even think you'll fall for it. There's a whole science behind this. It's called marketing. That's why this is magic. This is evil shit, man. It's weird, though. But watch Peterson. This guy is so evil, guys. Just trust. You don't have to trust me. Don't trust me. Look for yourself. Do you think he's never been asked, does he believe in God? Any believer right now watching this who likes Peterson is like, what in the fuck? Same thing happened to me. I thought he was a Christian. This is unbelievable behavior if you believe in God. The first thing he'd say is be like, of course, I saw the face of my child. No, he's like, I cannot answer that because he serves another master. Materialism. He doesn't call it Satan, probably. It's Satan. You have to understand all of it to know what you serve. He serves his suits, his attention, besting his enemies, having people think he's great when he's not. He likes his lies. He likes his secrets. He's probably a sex addict on some level. Not starting that rumor, have no proof at all, but matches all the shit. All right, so watch him again.
2 hours long.
This is true, but when you're talking about the most important questions that people have ever asked, then 2 hours isn't very long. Apparently, people will watch them. So I'm not prepared to.
He's acting like a molested kid trying to say the truth.
I'm not prepared to say things in any other way than I've already said them.
You are a despicable man, Jordan Peterson.
It isn't obvious what belief means. People think
yes,
that
it is. Do you believe that water is wet? Do you believe the sun will rise the next day? Belief is an extremely easy word to understand and define. I feel really good that I'm showing people this right now. I really think I'm freeing a lot of people right now, because that spell is powerful as shit. And look how pathetic he looks, right? When you find out how the magician does it, it ruins it, and you almost get mad. Where you're like, that was it? Damn it, George. I gotta grab George. Hang on.
Believe is what they say they believe. I don't believe that. I believe that what people believe is what they act out. And so I said, true. I act as if God exists. That's a sufficient statement as far as I'm concerned. You know, what's the old saying? By their fruits ye shall know them. Same idea, right? It's a matter of action and a matter of commitment. It's not a matter of me parading out my explicit statements about a metaphysical reality that's virtually impossible to comprehend.
No, it's possible to comprehend. But let me break that down for you. He said it doesn't matter what you believe; it matters how you act. What he just did is try to make being a sociopathic, psychopathic, lying, constant liar virtuous. So what he's saying is, okay, let's say you don't love your wife. You hate your wife, but you act like you love your wife for 50 years. Does that mean you love your wife? No, it means you're a tragic, hollow, empty shell of a piece of shit. Belief is the start of all of it. And just look at the chat. I'm not a great Christian in the sense I can't quote biblical verses. I go to church not that often. I don't talk about it a lot. Look at like evangelicals in this chat being like, oh yeah, Big Bear's got the spirit in him, right? Like, I'm not lying, guys. It starts in, like, because I get it so purely that I can explain it. Because it's not in the words, and it's in the words, obviously, but like, if you get lost in the art thous and all this shit, or like that one, the priest with the wizard hat, that's all nonsense. People, these parasites latch onto the truth and they suck the blood from it. That's not Christianity. It starts with the belief. And then from there, everything becomes obvious. This piece of shit, Jordan Peterson, believes nothing.
And I'm not willing to do that. And I'm not interested in providing people with easy answers, including me.
Or any answers, Jordan. You're not interested in providing anyone answers. You charge $300 to shake your soft, sweaty hand with your soft sheets and your sodomite opener and your lizard agents that you didn't need and your bullshit backstory and your maps of meaning. He called paranoid delusions of grandeur and pathological lying a map of meaning. And I'll be honest, this dude did help me in some ways. This dude has helped some of my friends from like not dying from heroin. This dude has helped people's dads. I get it. Deepak Chopra has also helped people. These people are snake oil salesmen. I'm not saying that there isn't help. Like, you can't. This guy said enough nonsense, but appeared to be a strong male, that it allowed other people to save themselves. Let's look at some more wizardry. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm very passionate about this, in case you can't tell, because wizardry is people are just so susceptible to it. And I'm not going to give any examples that would embarrass anybody, but people say stuff to me and I'm like, you're under such a spell. It's mind blowing. Okay, here's an example of someone I don't mind talking a little shit about, because he's just, I mean, him and Bill Burr just apologized for white people. It's just pathetic. That's another thing about being honest. Like when I called out Rogan and then I apologized, but I was only apologizing because he didn't call me out first publicly and I didn't call him first. I didn't apologize for him being a leftist. But they always get worse. Whenever you start feuds with somebody or like, and you're being honest, you either make up or they keep degenerating. Like, I remember when I first started making fun of Jimmy Kimmel, people would be like, hey man, not cool, bro. And I'm like, Jimmy Kimmel's a wizard and he's degenerating. And they're like, you're jealous. You're just jealous. I'm like, you're trying to get something from mocking Jimmy Kimmel. I'm like, no, I'm actually doing Adam Carolla next week, so it's actually super awkward. And now everyone's like, Kimmel's a faggot. And I'm like, how did you not see that 2 years ago when all the signs were there? Joe Rogan tried to give me a scarcity spell, and this is one of my most annoying, one of the most annoying spells out there, because Joe Rogan isn't evil. He's not Jimmy Savile. But he's like, you know, you got to hold. And I know that he was trying to be paternal to me, but he was being paternal to me with black magic, and I don't appreciate that. But he was trying to like help me and like give me pointers. And I'm almost like Bane. I'm like, I was born in darkness. Like my dad used to make me argue the other side of impossible arguments when I was 5. You think I need Twitter advice, Joe? So anyway, he was like, you post too much. You know, you do too many videos. You're so fucking talented, man. You gotta pull it back and just every now and then, you know, make people wait for it and want it. I'm like, scarcity spell. I didn't say that out of respect, but I'm like, that's a scarcity spell. That De Beers made that. I mean, De Beers mastered the scarcity spell. There's warehouses of diamonds. Warehouses. They're pointless. They're meaningless. Diamonds have no value whatsoever. And they're not all Jews who do this, but they have warehouses of diamonds just to keep the value up. That's a spell. That's black magic. I will never do that. I've now done, what, 5 specials in a year? People that are like, you got to space them out, make them an event. No, I do it as soon as I want to and when it's right and when people want more comedy. And I'm going to make and create as much as I possibly can before I die so that my message will live on in my art. And if you think that I'm going to hold back some thoughts or ideas or videos for 3 months so I can build up my sales and people think that I'm so, that's a scarcity spell. I'll give you another example of a scarcity spell. Third Eye Blind, right? Amy loved Third Eye Blind when we first started dating, and they came to this to LA to this like smaller place, and I was still at CAA, so I could get free tickets to anything, and I blew her fucking mind with some Third Eye Blind tickets. And I go to the show. I couldn't stop laughing. This is why I can't go to shit like this. So the guy doesn't show his face. He's like, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. And all the girls and gay homos are like, show me your face. Why won't he show it? And he's like, part-time, like all the lines of you. And everyone's like, and then finally he's like, did I graduate? And everyone's like, and I'm like, scarcity spells exist when someone knows they have nothing to offer. The best musicians in the world, the best entertainers in the world just need a microphone and a guitar, and that's it. If you need to do that, you suck. If you have belief and if you have values and if you have virtue and stuff, you always have a plan. You just don't know it yet. Like I had to readjust one of my stances with Amy, and it's helped tremendously. Because like one of my principles is never allow her to demean me. I never retreat. I never let her put me down like those commercials where it's like just a dumb dad. Even he can do it. The guy who paid for it. I will never allow one word of that in my life, and I will do anything to stop it. Now I had to change that because I had to admit that I can't tell if she's doing it sometimes. Like sometimes when I watch the kids, I realize, again, don't call me a cuck because you just sound like a cuck if you don't understand the value of motherhood. It's so hard. It's like they're managing. It's like someone just shit on something. Someone's eating something. You know, there's someone at the door. The dogs are barking. It's like spinning plates. You know, and so if she ever looked passive aggressively detached and short and not listening and seeming like she's demeaning me, she very well might just be thinking about whether or not Charlie has his hat on. And I don't trust myself to make that call anymore. And ever since I've made that decision, we've had more love in our home, and she's treated me just incredible. She's always treated me good, but like that, like, okay, so that's not a plan, but that's something I've thought in my head, and I know it's my red line is Obama retracted from. And so you always have a plan. That's why when people are like, oh, you're off the rocker, it's like, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. And I will attack monsters. I'll call shit out, and I will use tactics that sometimes seem petty. Like if I just start calling people retards, it's a tactic, guys. It's all right. One more quick like magic side note, and then I'll get back in the video. If you read Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. One way that people do it is they try to, and they can flip-flop on this. You use information that your audience understands and that other people don't understand. It's in-group, out-group stuff. So if someone's arguing with me, and my point is valid, and they start doing wizardry, where I'm like, how do you send a broadcast from the moon? And they're like, well, megahertz, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're a retard. That's how you derail it. And then the next day, I research exactly the wattage or the voltage in the generator needed to power a live. It's 150,000 volts for a TV station. But at that time, I didn't know that. And they're using wizard techniques where it's like, Christians do it all the time, where it's like, Corinthians 9, it's like, yeah, but what's real though? Say the truth. Don't try and use the words that you know that I don't have memorized because I was raised a little fucked up and Catholic and I had, don't do that to avoid truth. And scientists now do it just like Christians used to when I was a kid. It's like John 14:17 says, you're bad, I'm good. It's like, no, that's a spell. The Bible isn't a spell, but doing it like that is. And now science is like, well, 97% of climatology lie. No, you're trying to evoke authority by using words and figures and stuff that you don't think your audience understands. Well, guess what everyone understands? Calling someone a retard. I was a heckler at a Renaissance fair. One thing that would always work is say loser or you're fat or your wife's too hot for you. Everyone understands it. That brings me to Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump sometimes sounds stupid, but he's not stupid. He knows how to boil it down to the very, very simplest possible thing and speak to everyone. It's genius. I'm such a fan of this dude. Watch this. This is called, okay, first let's look at Obama the Liar. This is pure wizardry. And I'll teach you a little something about rhetoric. And this will truly help you in the future, by the way. Because you'll see it. You'll see it and you won't be, because I see you guys arguing on my behalf in some of the comments. And I don't jump in a lot because sometimes I almost feel like a coach. Like I'm almost like watching you guys like scrimmage. I'm pretty into words. I mean, I have a giant dictionary right next to me. And truth and arguments and wizardry. I'm obsessed. And I'll see you guys fall for tactics where it's like, well, I just think he's lost his mind. And okay, here's a perfect one. Listen, I'm a huge fan of his and I've been a fan for a long time and I love that he stands up, but he's really went off the deep end, right? There's no meaning in that. That's a spell, probably a bot. That's not even a human being saying that. That's a generic way of doing in-group, out-group. You say in-group, listen, I also love him. But I'm worried about him, right? And then people fall for it because they're like, oh, you're also a bear? Yeah, and lately I guess he has been a little intense. I'm always intense. And I'm like, don't fall for that shit. But this will help you guys. All right, watch Barack Obama. Ready?
We're supposed to stand up to discrimination. And we're sure as heck supposed to stand up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers.
What he just said was obvious and no one was arguing it. That's like saying, we're supposed to not gang rape our own dickhole with iron rods. Imagine saying that. Everyone would be like, everyone knows that. What he just said was not a controversial statement. Bernie does it all the time. I think that everyone should have health care. You think? You don't think that it hurts me to pay $1,600 fucking dollars a month for this shit health care where it's like a 40% copay on everything? I just know socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. Everyone thinks everyone should have health care. Who the fuck is arguing against that? I believe that children should not be shot in schools. So do I. We just have different ways of getting to that. I think people should be armed so that bitches like you chill out. You think that we should be disarmed so you can drone army our ass and take everything. All right, so let's watch what he says, and I'll show you exactly what he does.
How hard can that be? Saying that Nazis are bad.
I think someone counted it. Donald Trump, I think, has disavowed Nazis, Richard Spencer, David Duke, hatred of his daughter's Jewish. He's, the wealthy black people love him. He's not racist. He just sees green. It's never been an issue for Donald Trump to not disavow Nazis. Someone counted it once. I think it was like 30 something times. He's been like, Nazis are fucking dicks. And so what Obama is doing, and this is how they get away with it, right? Because they can't fully just paint a different reality because people would catch on. You know, it's like Berenstein Bears. They got to do it like little, right? So nothing he's saying right now is a factual lie. Because these are called rhetorical questions. They're questions to persuade. They're not questions to ask a question. He's saying, how hard is it to condemn Nazis? That's not a lie. You know, people could be like, not that hard. So, right, not that hard. He never said Donald Trump is not condemning Nazis, because that is a lie. So what he did is he just inverted reality, and people fall for it because it's wizardry. Because people want, one of the reasons Netflix is constantly demonizing our hero, Adolf Hitler, and he has more specials than any living comedian right now. It's like, was Adolf Hitler in Argentina? The shoes of Adolf Hitler, the death machines of it. All they're doing is setting up a psyop. Because listen, Hitler's a piece of shit. No different than Pol Pot and Stalin and Khrushchev and Lenin and fucking all of them. It's like, that's how dictators are. So what they do is they set up a psyop where they trigger it with Nazis. So it's constantly like, Hitler's the face of evil. Hitler's the face of evil. And when someone like me points this out, it sounds like I'm defending Hitler, but I know you guys are smart enough, and I don't give a fuck. I was raised by my mother. I'm scared of no deceiver. So then they can pull this out. So what it is the group now wants to show virtue. And the universal thing is Nazis are bad. That's programmed in your head. You know, Khmer Rouge doesn't mean shit. Imagine, how hard is it to call out the Khmer Rouge? Death count higher as far as percentage of population. And they did it. They just pulled these people into a field, the killing fields. They killed all the kids and the teachers and anybody that could read, and horrifying, right? No one says, how hard is it to condemn the Khmer Rouge? No, we're programmed to have a trigger. This is all about triggers. It's a psychological operation, right? They just need a trigger. That's it. They've invented words now. You know, bigot, racist, homophobe, transphobe is a brand new trigger. It has nothing to do with Jews. They could pick one out of the fucking hat. The reason Hitler works is because we beat him. It's just Hitler's the perfect patsy. Because he's evil as shit, we beat him, and he's a nationalist. He's not really a nationalist, but they paint him that way, right? He could do it. He did enough like pro-Germany shit where, why didn't they go after Stalin? Because Stalin's big government, socialist, fucking drone, rule by bureaucracy, hero to the people doing this. The people that do this, it has nothing to do with being Jewish or any Jesuit or any of that shit. It has to do with power and secrecy. Any walk of life, if you're in this cabal, what it is they want to trigger so that anyone at any time can say Nazi and people go, oh, bad. And they've programmed us because of Hitler movies. All right, now watch the difference with Trump. What Trump does is he does the truth formula. That's why when people say, like, how can evangelicals like Trump? Because Trump knows how to beat the wicked spell. Whether or not he's been coached or if it's real, I don't know. But he knows how to do it. Truth, that's why saying Jesus Christ's name or up is up, down is down, yes is yes, no is no, that's the most important thing in the whole deal. That's why I might be wrong, but I'm not lying, resonates so hard. Because it's so fucking true and it's so necessary. That's why atheists can be moral. Because it's like, it's all about saying what's true and then the wizardry disappears. And the only way to try and beat Trump is through mockery, and it doesn't work with real legends like us. Watch how he handles Hillary. Watch. Hillary is the definition of a wizard. She's dressed like Mao Zedong meets a crayon, right? These are outfits. She does spirit cooking. She's murdered, what, 80 people? She's a serial killer. She doesn't pull the trigger, but she's the queen. She's a Black Widow. And I said that like a year ago, and people were like, you've really lost it. Same people right now are like, dude, she's a killer. She's even worse than you can possibly think. She's dark arts, dude. Dark arts. All right, watch how Trump handles it. And this is what you do going forward. And it's not about anger. It's not about insults. It's not about ego. It's about just saying exactly what's happening They can't fucking touch it. Watch this.
Well, Chris, I am on record as saying that we need to put more money into the Social Security Trust Fund. That's part of my commitment to raise taxes on the wealthy. My Social Security payroll contribution will go up, as will Donald's, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it. But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund by making sure that we have sufficient resources, and that will come from...
Let's analyze this. The problem with dark magic, guys, and I suspect that, you know, pretty good guys like Theo Von and guys like that, like they're dabbling in this world. It eliminates your autonomy. Hillary couldn't stop talking. She wasn't in the moment. She was doing dark arts. She was doing a spell. What she was doing is saying the triggers are rich people bad, right? Which is not true. That's one of the reasons I love the movie. Sorry, I didn't sleep last night. It's like one of my favorite movies. I talk about it all the time. The Edge. It's one of the only movies where the hero is a billionaire. Watch movies. The rich guy is always the bad guy. And there are bad rich guys. There are bad Jews. There are bad Nazis. These are all psychological operations. That's why sometimes I'll be doing like a racial joke or a Jew joke or something, and you feel like you should be offended, but you're not, because you realize what I'm doing is what it would be like without these psychological operations. You just say this shit, and nothing happens. It's all wizard shit, right? So she's setting up her wizard, right? Because she is rich. She's corrupt. She's a thief. Every single person, I write off my office as a tax deduction. I write off shoes, you know, like anything I can. I don't want, no one wants to pay taxes. Any loophole they give us a game theory, right? Even if it's corrupt as shit, it's still game theory. You know, you still can read the lips of your opponents in football. That's why they do this, right? So any loophole you're going to take, and rich people are not inherently bad. You know, it just kind of magnifies who they are. It reveals their nature. So she's doing wizardry, and he just slaps that Pope hat right off his fucking head. You know, just rips that Mao Zedong outfit off and just goes, what a nasty woman. Because it was exactly true. She was being unnecessarily nasty. And people, oh, Donald Trump's nasty. No, he's not. He's aggressive and he's a winner. He, you know, I don't say he's done some shit that isn't winning lately, obviously. Like, there's some stuff, like, he's got to really push on some of these issues. But, like, he's like with my policy with Amy, where it was like, I don't allow people to demean me. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you misread it. Sometimes you say some shit. But watch Donald Trump's track record as the years go on. This is why I'm such a supporter. I wasn't in the beginning. Looking back, he was right about so much shit. He called her Crooked Hillary before people really knew about the Clinton Foundation. He was putting things into question that no one was putting into question and are now seen as fact. He never gets credit because he uses truth to beat dark arts. And I'm not saying he's a truth figure, but this is why evangelicals are on board with him, even though he's lived a fairly immoral life, which, by the way, is not anti-Christian as long as you repent and turn that shit around. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I am a hypocrite. I'm against war. I'm glad my gas is cheap. See, the act of knowing you're a hypocrite, ironically, makes you not a fucking hypocrite. See how this all works? This is all I can really contribute to society, but I know I'm right about all of this, by the way. This is like my main skill. All right, let's analyze this again. Watch the fact that she doesn't exist. So my point about the dark arts, don't get into it. You might think Hollywood's hard. You might think you want a nicer car. You might want that girl to like you. It's never worth it. This is one of the most powerful people in the entire world, Hillary Clinton. She's had children killed out of spite, revenge. She's hurt so many people by doing that. People won't. If she told people not to look at her in the eye, she could get, you know, 4-star generals to look at their shoes. That's the power this witch has. She doesn't exist. Watch what happens to wizards. This is Gollum. Watch. She can't adjust. Trump, for all his faults, is in the moment. Because that's why Trump's like the anti-politician. Watch it again. Just watch this shit.
Him on record as saying that we need to put more money into the Social Security Trust Fund. That's
She practiced her smirking. Watch this.
part of my commitment to raise taxes on the wealthy. My Social Security payroll contribution will go up, as will Donald's, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it.
That's a pre-written joke, by the way, from a team of writers that she rehearsed. You see how she pretended like she just thought of it? You want to see someone actually just think of something?
But what we want to do
this.
is to replenish the
Such a
Social
nasty
Security Trust Fund by making sure that we have sufficient resources.
stop.
And that will come from either raising the cap and or finding other ways to.
As it goes on, she looks like the smallest little ant. All the power. It's like that scene with the Joker. All the rage. And you can take nothing from me, right? And it like Trump didn't do it like, fuck you, Hillary Clinton. He just said what was true, showed her the same lack of respect that she was showing him for no reason. She's also in the wealthy class. Everyone knows she's a hypocrite. She's trying to put a spell on people. By the way, we didn't go to the moon. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then he smiles. He just smiles like, his smile says, I get to say the truth. And listen, he may be coached on some of these things. He may have ulterior motives. You can't teach that because you couldn't have predicted that. You could not have predicted that she was going to say that. He was in the moment, and that can only exist if you have a soul. Soulless people can't do that because they have no inner voice. And then, so how did they react? They reacted with mockery, right? They started making nasty. They go, we're going to take back nasty woman. We're going to march, and all these signs. We are nasty women. That's all dark arts. Why do you think I've been kind of going like getting so frustrated? Because when you see it, the world is so clear and we can all do so much better and prosper and be fruitful and multiply if we all just show it. Like, it's so easy to beat and it's the hardest thing to beat in the world. You know, it's like what they do is that was so humiliating for her. Not that she was called nasty woman, but that it revealed she was rehearsed. She couldn't change her lane. She cucked right to him, this strong, powerful lesbian dressed like Mao Zedong. She didn't even address that he called her a nasty woman. And just to see his reaction was so human that all they could do is dark arts, which is become a victim, use mockery. This is why I'm disgusted by my own craft a lot of times, because comedy is so big in dark arts. Mockery, ridicule. That's why when people are like, you're pathetic, like, what has happened? When people appeal to authority and status and all that shit, and when people use shame, it's all dark arts. It's like, I am a nasty woman, Donald, and you are full of hate. I think I talked about everything I wanted to. Oh, words that manipulate. Free, the word imagine, and the word you. Martin Luther King Jr. was an epic wizard. That's one reason why I don't give him a lot of credit. Because as someone who understands wizardry completely, even though I agree with freedom and dreams and all that shit, I'm just watching him as a rhetoric artist. And, okay, the word free and the number 3. Okay, this is like potions. This is so hard to construct. I've never even tried because I hate the fact that this exists, kind of. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. He said free 3 times. That was the culmination of it. The word free, the word imagine, and you. When someone says you, it's always you. That was one of the biggest strokes in wizard history. He starts with, I have a dream. And everyone's had a dream. But everyone's curious about what your dream is, right? You see how it's the breadcrumbs. This isn't always evil, guys. Like, every good storyteller has a little wizard in him, you know, like just being a good storyteller. But it can be used to crush, you know, to push heroin and take jobs and kill babies, you know? So look at what he does. He says, I have a dream. And he doesn't start big. He starts small. You want to know why Peterson and people like that start with almost a whisper? My uncle taught me this. My uncle's a trained hypnotist. You talk quiet to force people to listen. So he starts off, I have a dream, that level. He ends with, I might be confusing speeches, but it's always the same arc. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. He does Negro spiritual music. That's all, that's structure, that's all wizard shit. And I love music. If you truly understand how easily manipulated people are and how much they just want to be loved and hear that music and be around strength and something to believe in, and it's like, of course, if you're not ready to admit, this is one thing Jordan Peterson said that was true as fuck. If you're not ready to admit that in 1942, there's a good chance you were right there, you can't be good because you don't admit you're capable of evil. I really think we can beat all of it. I know it's a fallen world, but let's get back to like 1950s fallen world. Like the shit that they demonize and make it look like patriarchy and all that. We're like, you don't know that many divorced parents. You don't say fuck around your grandmother. 15-year-olds aren't having threesomes and getting high-fived by teachers. Heroin isn't killing all your friends. You play catch with your dad who works hard. Your mom gets to stay home. That's still a fallen world because the world's fallen. But we can get back there. There's wizards in real positions of power. I don't believe we're in the end times. I think that we've let the wizards in, and we need to educate each other, not to practice this shit, to spot it. Because once you can spot it, it doesn't work on you very easily. Unless you're in a really vulnerable position. Oh, by the way, imagine is the second biggest word after free. Imagine by John Lennon. It's nonsense. Oh, dude, I got more. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I got to show you moon wizardry. This is the psychological operation called the moon landing, guys. What? This is so by design, and it's so brilliant if it wasn't so goddamn evil. Okay, here's Neil deGrasse Tyson. And let's analyze this shit. Ready? And I got this from Edge of Wonder, Strong Pod.
And had I known that our first steps on the moon would essentially be our last steps on the moon, I would have done somersaults. I would have said, oh my gosh, this is a unique moment in the history of our species. Never to happen again. Let me revel and celebrate and pop champagne cork.
Okay. Try and get your own theory as to what he did so that way you can work on your own muscle of decoding it. To anybody listening, he just said we only went to the moon once and never went back. The word essentially allows people to stay in their matrix. What he did was by design. Someone that smart, someone that scientific and precise with his words, he doesn't go, our first steps would essentially be our last, and if I had known we would never go back, I would have popped champagne. The word essentially allows people to develop their deception muscle, right? It's like saying, my cousin works for the state and is a whistleblower, right? And I'm like, and it's like, oh, he's a lifeguard. See what I'm saying? That's intentional deception. He's a whistleblower for the state. He's a lifeguard, dude. He blows whistles and he works for the state. Why are you so paranoid? That's intentional wizardry, right? He literally says, it's not even half-truths. It's a little way out. It's a little tiny way out so that you believe it. It's kind of like people that won't call out abuse where it's like, oh yeah, the kid falls down the stairs every week. Just anything that allows people to maintain their delusion. I made a point that there's a 700-degree temperature difference on the surface of the moon in a 12-hour period. How can you have functioning electricity and transmit 290,000 miles when you have at most 12 volts and you haven't invented a cell phone yet? And I know there's a difference between heat and temperature. It's not the factor you think it is. That's one of those wizard things. A 700-degree difference. And those moon boots aren't fucking helping, guys. Sorry. Electricity isn't functioning. And you have nowhere near the power or the dish or the ability to focus on the position. It's not happening. But people will literally be like, well, they timed it so the temperature fluctuation was only 400 degrees. It's like, I thought they timed it for the Van Allen belt that they didn't know existed. There is a 0% chance that we went to the moon. It's one of the most brilliant psyops ever. The Holocaust did happen. The psyop is making Hitler special, making Hitler a trigger word. You know, a fucking amputee veteran starts a fucking GoFundMe to raise the money for the wall. This is an inspirational act. If you won't do it, government, we the people will raise the money to secure our future. What does a high-level wizard say, Jimmy Kimmel? Donating money for a wall that will never exist. It's like starting a college fund for Harry Potter. It's a waste. You do have to admire the sacrifice they're making. I mean, a lot of these people are dipping into their meth money for this. Anyone who knows meth heads knows meth heads are not giving up any money. And also, how fucking... See, these people, they deserve the hell they live in, and they deserve far more. He just put down a vet who lost his limb serving our country to crowdsource our own security, and he made a meth joke and compared us to Harry Potter. By the way, they're wrong all the time. Go back and watch like reels of people saying Donald Trump will never be president and laughing and sorcerizing. They require you to not speak truth. If you do that, they're right. If you speak truth, that wall will be built without question, and Jimmy Kimmel will never apologize. He'll pretend it never happened. He makes persona non gratas. Don't speak, don't tell, don't hear. Wizard 101, guys. All right, I'm out. And please, God, beat the Wizards. Be good. Be fruitful and multiply. Bye-bye. I love you guys.